Good afternoon, Dr. Ofra. Yeah, thanks for coming for this interview. Yeah, and of course, we know that this interview is get to know you more. Yeah, for our Singapore and Malaysia audience, particularly the Southeast Asia. Yeah, and I have that privilege to learn, yeah, from you for that 5 sessions. Yeah, and I learned a lot and benefited from the sharing and the learning from you. And that's where I decided to link up with you and to run this certification program, the 2 days. Yeah, and I believe that with your, teaching, yeah, our uh, our practitioner, yeah, those who are coaches, counselors, therapists will benefit from your training, and I appreciate for your time for even for this interview. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and let's start with our questions. Yeah.
First, I want to thank you for inviting me. Vincent,
Mm,
we already met in my previous Zoom course, which was
yes.
an international course. And I was very, very gratified and proud that you invited me to share with you this practitioner's certificate course.
Mm,
And this is just imagine the bridge that we are creating between these two parts of Asia. You are in Asia and I am in Asia, but very, very different parts and different cultures. And I think it is a challenge, really, to bring it all together and to find what is basically human and which connects all of us in this world and in this part of the world.
yes. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And it's very interesting to really to come together. Yeah, from different part of the world, and then through this Zoom thing, yeah, we can learn all over the place, all over the world. That's the amazing part of online learning. Yeah. Okay, let's start with our interview formally. Are you ready for that?
Yes,
Okay,
totally
good, good,
ready.
good. Yeah, I understand that you co-developed the code cards, right? And the basics PH model.
Now,
Yeah,
code cards are totally my own.
your own. Okay, your
My
own
own
code card.
basic PH concept and theory and practice I developed with Muli Lahad, my friend and colleague, for the last 30 or maybe 40 years.
Oh wow.
But
Okay.
code cards I developed totally on my own.
Ah, wow. Okay,
So
that's
this is
great.
my contribution to the world.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, but many people are quite familiar with the old cards. Yeah. So maybe what inspired you to create these code cards? Yeah, and how are they different from the others like the old cards?
So you like whole cards, huh?
Yes. Mm.
So whole cards was a big surprise and a game changer for me when I first met the first OH box. And since then, I created contact with Moritz Eggetmeyer. We
Mm.
became very, very close friends.
Mm.
And at one time, he invited me to create a special card for the, it was about what, 25 years ago or some,
Wow. Okay.
to help people cope with trauma. And this was a special time in history, which is in European history,
Mm.
which is already a bit forgotten. The country which was called Yugoslavia,
Uh-huh.
which is now 5 different countries, Croatia and Bosnia and Serbia and Slovenia, etc.,
Mm.
was in terrible war. And
Mm.
I was called with two more friends of mine, colleagues, to come in in the middle of this horrible war
Mm.
in order to train psychologists,
Mm.
usually clinical psychologists, because they did not know anything about trauma psychology at that time and
Mm.
not about how to work with communities. They were
Mm.
very, very well trained psychologists, but they didn't have this speciality that was needed at that time.
Mm.
So I went every few months with a great danger to myself and to my colleagues in the middle of the bombing and everything.
Oh.
And we had a group of people. One group from Croatia, another group, separate group from Serbia, and we trained this. They were psychologists, counselors, teachers sometimes. They came in one group, and for 3 years, we kept training them. And when this war finished, I went to Bellagio in Italy. I had a scholarship, an expert scholarship to create something, to write something about my experience. And my dear friend Mo Egetmeyer came, which I didn't know at that time. It was our first meeting, came to Bellagio, to Italy. And in this meeting, he asked me to use my experience, both in Israel and in this recent horrible trauma in Europe, to create a card deck to help people cope with stress, extreme stress and trauma. And this is how COPE was born. So we kept meeting. We met in Italy, in England first, and then we met in Italy with a special Russian painter, a woman, a wonderful painter, Maria Lukyanova, and the three of us, Moritz Egetmeyer, Maria Lukyanova, and myself, we were sitting together and trying to create something which will really, what we believe, will help the world. And this is how COPE was created. So my idea was to take the basic pH model, which I created and I was using in many, many areas of my work, international work, in therapy, in teaching at Haifa University, which I was teaching there for 35 years, and for training helpers everywhere. And according to this idea, I created different images. I took from my photography, from art, from different ideas. I gave it to Maria, and we were sitting together night by night by night by night. Wow. And she was drawing with watercolor. She's so talented. And whatever I wanted, she was drawing. And every night we were spreading it on a double bed, looking at the results. At the end of the week, we had a full deck of COPE cards.
Wow.
And this was really such a wonderful creative experience. So this is how COPE cards came to the world.
Wow.
And once it came to the world, and I wrote a little booklet which explains what basic pH is, and which has lots of exercises for people who were initially first timers in using cards in order to help traumatized people, families, and communities. And then I translated it into many, many languages according to demand. Because the cards themselves are only visual, so there's no language there. But the helping booklet which I created is kept keeping translated, and we also wrote a whole book translated in Japanese, but in many, many other languages. And this is how it came to be.
Wow,
now, you were asking me, and I know that you're interested to know, what is the difference between the wonderful idea of the family of cards, of decks, of whole cards that Maurice Egetmeyer continued to publish by using different artists and different ideas. And what is the difference between this collection and the COPE cards? Are you interested to know?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So the whole cards are really a wonderful tool. All of them, all the different decks, which we are going to use in our certificate program. We are going to get to know them and to find what each of these cards can contribute to our work and to our professional development. But COPE card, the main primary goal is to help people identify and mobilize their coping resources. It's not only about understanding myself and maybe facilitating communication. It goes deeper and very, very especially directed in this area of trauma and coping.
Wow, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, because when I got to know, I mean, the COPE cards, yeah, I'm very interested to really how to use, even though, yes, I mean, I look at the booklet, I say, wow, I mean, there must, I think when I look at the COPE cards, I say, wow, I mean, this is such an amazing tool. Then what if, I mean, more more practitioners, yeah, especially, I mean, counselors, trainers, coaches, teachers, even psychologists to able to use this to help, I mean, yeah, people, I mean, those kids or even adults with trauma or how to help them to cope with their stress. Yeah, so I thought that, oh, wow, it's a very good idea that I can bring you in and share with the people in Singapore and Malaysia and Southeast Asia. Yeah, and that's where how it happens. Yeah, and we are going to do it. Yes. Okay.
It's a wonderful idea that you had in
Mm,
spreading it in Southeast Asia. And I
mm,
hope that many other practitioners from many other countries will come.
mm,
When I will tell you, just associatively comes to my mind
mm.
that I was invited in Thailand. I worked 14 years in Thailand,
Oh, wow.
training practitioners in different methods.
Mm,
And after the tsunami, I think it was about 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, after the
okay.
horrible tsunami,
Mm,
of course, I was invited again, and I had 200 people in Phuket,
mm,
and they were not psychologists because at that time Thailand didn't have too many psychologists.
mm,
They
mm,
were doctors and nurses and psychiatrists and teachers
mm,
and people who were themselves survivors,
mm,
and the families were victims also of the horrible tsunami, and they wanted to become helpers for the community, for the different communities in Thailand. At that
mm,
time, people from Malaysia and Indonesia,
mm.
individuals heard about this training and they joined. So I
Mm,
started already spreading my word in Southeast Asia, and I hope that other practitioners from other countries will join. There are
mm,
so many needs in all the parts of the world. So it's up to you to
mm.
access these people.
Yes,
So
yes.
what was the main, this was the background,
Mm.
but what was the main primary goal is that the cards are grounded on the idea of basic pH model of
mm,
coping. And if I want to say something to the world through you, through
mm,
your wonderful efforts of spreading the news, is we are divorcing ourselves from the medical model, because the medical model always wants to know what's wrong with you. When I come to the
mm,
doctor, he never asks me, "Oh, Ofra, what wonderful card deck that you created last week," or
mm,
"How is your great grandchildren?" I had 8
mm.
great grandchildren.
Uh,
No, he asked me, what's wrong with you? Do you have any pain here? I will treat the pain here, not your personality. We have chosen the I will say a word and I will explain the
mm,
salutogenic model. Salutogenic means health-oriented model.
mm,
What we want to know is what works for you,
mm,
uh, what helps you in any situation in daily life and in more extreme situation, what, and people don't even know what wealth, what power they have in themselves, because they're so much oriented into the medical model to I want to be diagnosed. I want to know what are my symptoms. No, our approach is totally the opposite. We want to know what is your strength. Because as we think about life difficulties, which are enormous anyway, and specifically like a trauma and accidents and death and natural disasters and human-made disasters, which we are living through all the time, we want to know, how do you survive? What really helps you survive? And this is our leading engine, like an engine that is pushing us forward to find out first in ourselves, because this was first of all, and I invite all our participants, I hope there will be so many of them, I invite us all first to open this secret box inside of us and find out what are our strengths, our different, which I will explain in a minute, our different ways of coping with the world, because we all have them. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been here. Those who cannot cope disappeared from history millions of years ago. Those who survived, all of us who are here, it means that we have this survival, I can call it survival package. And this package, I want us to open up. It's for most of us, it's a secret seed package. I want to open it up and look inside of us. So first, my invitation to our participants, we will find out wonderful things about ourselves. Things that some of us already know. So we will give it acknowledgement, and also some powers that are inside of us that are hidden because they didn't get attention in our childhood, because our society doesn't our society looks for, usually, as we see also in television and in the network, looks for troubles. They don't look for coping. They don't look for health, because health is boring, huh?
Yeah.
This is what the media thinks, but health not only not boring, it's wonderful. It's something that is flowering. It's something that gives us so much wealth and so much power. And this is what I wanted to transfer through different exercises that we're going to do with the different cards. Find out what wealth do we hold inside of us. And next, after we find it in ourselves, it will be so much easier to help our clients, children in schools, in families. I'm a family therapist, one of the first family therapists in Israel for the last 50, almost 50 years. Yes. My practice goes back 60 years, so you can guess that I'm not very young.
Yeah.
And in families, very, very important, and in communities. And I think that we can bring a message of health, a true message of changing our society from a competitive, trauma-inducing societies all over into a healthy society, which takes pride in our coping abilities. And this is what our participants will be able to help their clients, wherever they are, from hospitals to schools to families to organizations, to help them find their strength.
Wow. Yes, that sounds very interesting. Yeah. And Because I mean these code cards you can apply to counselors, therapy, and even psychologists, and I would say that even to parents, right? Yeah, parents that
Yes,
they can use the cards
yes,
and
yes,
to
yes.
to teach their kids about coping mechanism, I mean how to cope with their stress, adversities. Mm. So what do you think that there is something that is missing in the therapeutic practice for the counselor and therapy?
Ah, okay, it's the same idea.
Mm,
Because when I go back to my own schooling,
mm,
I studied at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem.
mm.
In the years, you'll be surprised, I started studying psychology in 1954,
Wow.
way back. And psychology was quite a sealed box with very, very strict ideas. And the idea says, let's diagnose you. Let's
Mm,
find your symptomatology. Let's go back to the traumas that you suffered in your childhood, maybe before birth and after birth, and let's talk more and more about how you became ill, how you
mm,
became converted, how you became not functioning, because people who
mm,
came to therapy were people who said, I'm not functioning well enough, please help me.
mm,
But this was, as I said before, the medical model.
mm,
So I'm so glad that I lived so many years longer and we changed this model. And now it's now all over the world. It's not only my contribution, many others
mm,
also shifted from the medical model to the health model. And
mm,
this is something that will give a lot of opportunities for any counselor, a coach, a therapist, art therapist, a movement
mm,
therapist,
mm,
psychiatrists, and doctors, also doctors in medicine, which
mm,
they come to my workshop and they open their eyes and say, wow, I never thought I can be so enhance the health of my client instead of
mm,
treating the pain of my client. So
mm,
by enhancing the health and with the cards, with the visual cards, and I'm sure that you wanted to know why. Why cards? Why talking therapy is not enough? Are you interested in that?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Of course, this is our profession. So I know that you've written a wonderful, interesting book on this subject, and that you are an expert yourself, and you could contribute not much less than I can into the world. So my idea about the visual uh, power
Mm,
of enhancing self-understanding and also communication.
mm,
The mind doesn't think with words.
mm,
It thinks in pictures. And how do I know this? I have a very simple story to tell.
mm,
And the story involves each of us.
mm,
Imagine that we can remember the very first moment when we were born out of this very protected womb. Each of us, I mean, this is generally human.
mm,
And we had everything inside except for one thing. When we get out into the world and our eyes open, we are flooded with colors, with shapes, with movement. We see first time after gestation, 9 months gestation, we see. We don't know what we see. We don't have names. We don't have any way of concepting, consciously understanding what it is. It doesn't matter. So for a whole year, at least a year and a half, until we start talking and understanding communication, we are experiencing the world, ourselves, our body, the body of others, of our caretakers, and the whole world around us by senses, many senses, not only visual, also tactile and other senses, hearing, of course, but we see the first wonderful thing is seeing. Now, as we know, we have these two parts of the brain. And the left side of the brain is the digital brain, which I will teach in my course. And it is responsible for language, mathematics, logical thinking, orientation, everything. We owe a lot to all the development of our sciences and communication. As I talk to you, it's my left brain now talking. But for so many hours, days, weeks, and months, the left brain is still dormant. It's not active yet. But what is so active is our right brain. It's so active, it grasps, it needs to understand, it needs to not understand, forgive me. It needs to experience, and it experiences by senses, and especially by the visual sense. And to make a long story short, when we are experiencing any extreme event, both very, very wonderful and helpful and happy, like falling in love or being in a wonderful place, or when we experience horrible, difficult losses like death of beloved ones or injury or any other very, very difficult, what we learn to call traumatic experience. In these two extremes, if I take all the human experience into two extremes, these two extremes we are not able to express them in words. It is what we call, I want to tell you something. Something happened to me, and you ask me, Ofra, what happened? I said, oh, Vincent, it's beyond words. I cannot tell, because either I'm so enlightened and happy, or I'm so broken and sad. These two extremes, they don't get access to words. And then comes the visual, what we call, now we use the cards, the visual stimuli, which helps us in many, many ways, but I will just mention for this short interview just a few words. First, when we look at the visual, whatever visual stimuli, what we see is what we project on this visual image. So it's not when we learn at school, tell me what you see, and the whole class must say the same thing. No, it's not that. Each of us projects the most innermost experience onto this piece of card. And then we can give it words. And we can give it words, not directly say I am, but we can talk about the image that we see in this picture. I'm looking for an example. See if I have an example here. But whatever, I will bring many, many examples in our workshop. I will show screens of different cards, different deck cards, even if our participants would not have the actual deck card in their hands, they will be able to adopt and to find out their own card, which expresses something in the visual way, that expresses something from within. So even if the participants don't have all this richness of cards, which are a lot, I will bring it so it will be accessible. They can even print it from the screen, so they will be able to use examples of the different decks, and especially of the card decks. If they don't have it at hand, they will still be able to use it. Next question.
Yeah, maybe you want to share with people, because we talk
Please,
about this.
please.
Maybe you want to share with us, okay, for those who first time heard about this basic pH model, yeah,
Ah,
how do you explain it in a very simple term? And how can it be useful for, I mean, to use in resilient, yeah, coping buildings and trauma interventions?
so I will tell it in a story word, it's story fashion, because in the professional fashion, I will teach it very systematically. And I don't want to compete with myself because I have prepared a very beautiful presentation to explain this.
Okay.
But what is the meaning of it? And how did we arrive at basic pH? It didn't fall up from the sky. We both, Molly Lahad, my friend, and myself, about 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, we were involved in very, very difficult situations that happened in Israel because since I was born, 1936, since then, 3 years later, the World War, Second World War, erupted. I was safe in Israel, but my soul wasn't safe. As a child, I already knew that the world is falling apart. And since then, when we fought for our independence, and until this day, until last week, we had a bomb attack from Iran. I've been living, I'm almost 90 years old, and I've been living in excessive threat of, I don't know, to our existence. As Jewish, as an Israeli, this has been our fate. Now, as psychologist, and Mulilad is much younger than myself, I had quite a big experience before we met, and we decided to go to certain places that were badly attacked by terrorists that came to houses and killed whole families, not only the 7th in October 93, it happened for years and years and years, and happened again and happened again. And we felt that the communities needed help. So we come to a community. It can be a school, it can be families, it can be old people house, whatever. Shelters, a lot of people spend years in shelters, and we didn't know what to do. So because we were beginning it, we didn't have that knowledge that we have now that I wanted to share with you. So what we had only one question. We went from one person to another and asked them to tell us and write in a small piece of paper. We needed this in writing. So we gave them small pieces of paper. Tell me one thing. I know how horrible it was and how painful, but I want to know what helped you. Pregnant women, old people, children in school, orphans, wounded soldiers in hospitals. And we collected so many evidences as answers for one question. Tell me what helps you? What helps you now to continue living, to get up every morning and function? And people just intuitively, without knowing anything about any theory, they gave us one sentence, two sentences. We collected them all. We brought them home. I remember sitting at my round table in the other room, and it was like a mountain of evidences. And we said, let's make some order. Let's put them in groups. And we started grouping them. And after 2 or 3 years, it took a long time, we arrived at these 6 areas, which of course, each area is very varied in itself. And we called it, in Hebrew, it's different, but the same 6, and in English, it's basic pH. So pH is, the last is the first one, is physical. Everyone who said that they did something physically in order that helped them, either connected to the trauma or even not connected to the trauma, but using their body both in action or in relaxation. We put in one side, it was pH. Now we went from one group to another. As a matter of fact, if you can imagine, we had 6 boxes, and we put the evidences in them. And so we came up with this titles. Belief system is basic. A is affect, which means the whole realm of feelings, which, as we know, you all know, all our participants, that psychological therapy is mostly about feeling. When we found it only one of the different areas. Feelings is very, very large and complex, and we put all those who say that different feelings help them, we put them in one box. Then we saw people who were actually using social connection. We put all the social and family connection, which is the one thing, in the third box. So basic, belief, affect, emotion, S is social. We found a lot of cognitive ways of coping with stress, so we call it cognition. And then, to our surprise and my joy, because this really spoke to me as a person from childhood, is imagination. I was a very imaginative child, and I'm still an imaginative child inside myself, and as you know, also in my teaching and in my life. So every evidence that spoke about imagination that is helping us, we put in another box, and we call it I. So we created this basic pH: belief, affect, social, imagination, cognition, and physical, not in the same order. To prove that it is not linear in the same order, we made, I don't know if you can see this behind me, this is a circle of pH with cards. Can you see this in my background?
Yes, I can see.
Because why a circle? Just to deliver the message that is not one which is more important than the other. Now, to sum it up, I can say something which I'm certain of. Not always so certain, but this, yes. I can say that we all are equipped with all these 6 powerful possibilities. We call it resources, coping resources. And we are all different. So the profile that we have of each of these resources is different in each of us. So for somebody dealing with trauma or stress cognitively works wonderful. For another, is the body which works so good. And for some other person, is the imagination. We can use all these 6 resources. Now, what do we do when we train ourselves and others, and when we do therapy? First of all, first principle, find out the language, and we call it language, of the strongest resources of the other person. Because, as we know from NLP and other communicative therapies, we have to have a language which is connect us to the client. I'm not imposing my resource on the other. I'm very carefully listening, and by cards I can do a very quick diagnosis, not of the symptoms, of the resources. And when I see, for example, I'm not very physical. My physical channel is a little. But if I see somebody who tells about or finds the cards that symbolizes physicality, I will talk physical language with this person. I will not talk emotional language with a computer expert because I will lose them. So first of all, finding the resource link, I call it language, connecting with whoever in the resource language, and then doing something that we learned from Milton Erickson, famous, pacing and leading. What does it mean? Pacing? Pacing is going with. I pace you, I go with you. One step behind you, but I am with you in your own world of images, in your own world of resources. But that's not enough because I want to contribute something to your life. So leading, it means that after we connected, we bounded with the same language, I can start introducing the other possibilities. Again, by cards. And the cards open up new words. And we experience the ability to also experience the world with other lenses. So I call them also lenses. I have many metaphors to explain the metaphor. So once we, I had a computer expert which was totally close to any other way of conversation. Don't talk to me about feelings. Don't talk to me about this and that. So I said to him, listen, I know that you are a very skilled computer expert, and you know how to find bugs in the computer. Oh, yes, this is my expertise. I said, just imagine that your mind is a computer and there is a bug. Will you try to correct it? I said, of course. And then I can speak to him. And after many weeks, didn't happen in 1 week, after I spoke to him in this kind of computer language, he was open to listen about imagination a little bit, about social connection, which was out of the question for him. This is pacing and leading. Another question.
Wow, okay. I believe that there are a lot of,
I
believe that there are a lot of these practitioner who is using old cards, right, in their work. Yeah. And what are the new possibilities would the basic PH or the code cards, right, add to their existing practice?
What does it add?
With the code cards and with the basic PH, right?
Are you asking what is the specific addition of the
Yes.
folk card to the family of folk cards?
Yes.
Yes. And the special edition is that the deck itself, as I created it in my imagination first, and then with the painter, and then with the exercises, there are cards that depict quite difficult situations in people's life, and the other part depicts the kind of coping. And this is the special contribution of cope cards. It's not only nice to have, not only good conversation and even understanding our world and our inner world, it is targeted, very, very specially targeted in healing. And this is a healing way, a very gentle healing. You don't have to have a doctor's certificate because you're doing no harm. It's impossible to do any harm if you are careful and you follow my instructions. And so if we use the cope card as a healing device, this is something which is very special to this deck of cards. So I think that this brings it to the fore in my area of expertise.
Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, then what is okay, because we are now, okay, going to use the code cards and use the model, the basic PH model. okay, to help the coaches, counselors, therapists, psychologists, yeah. And how would you say that they were able to gain from learning this, coming to this certification course? Yeah.
First, to do the whole course, which we are creating right
Mm,
now, is something new that didn't exist before because we are co-working of the two parts of Asia is
mm,
becoming, we are creating one language with many, many different variations, which will be uh, adaptable to each of the cultures, to each of the ages, to each different belief system. This is the possibility that our work is
mm,
opening. And the certificate will give you, it's the first step, this certificate. It's not the end of the world. Not you cannot, I don't, I suggest that you put it on the wall of your clinic, but put it on your heart and say, I actually did the first step to join the wonderful community of healers that really use coping resources for the help of other people. This is what a certificate will tell you.
mm,
It's the first step of joining this wonderful community. And the community is growing every day. It's now spread all over. I just had a book. I had my book Rescue, which you
mm.
know already.
Yeah.
You know my book Rescue,
Yes.
translated into about 8 languages.
Wow.
It's in Thai. You can read it in Thai. And
Uh,
you can read it in just the last one in Russian, of course. You can read it in Russian, which I did specifically when the war started with Ukraine. And I did not know that when Russia attacked Ukraine, the Ukraine people whose language was basically Russian, they didn't want to hear Russian any longer. They wanted only to speak Ukraine. So my book in Russian was secretly dispersed between the people, but it's very helpful anyhow. And
mm,
now the last one, where do I have the last one? This is the last one. Came last week, or no,
mm,
last month, as a matter of fact. You can recognize me in my uniform. And this is in Hungarian. So there are so many languages that use, and the book itself is also part of our learning because I wanted to show you here.
mm.
You can see the code cards
Yeah.
or, of the basic pH, and
Mm,
every page gives you more and more tools. Not just, it's not a theory. It's a living theory. It's a
mm,
theory that becomes practical. It's a
mm.
toolbox. I call it a toolbox.
Your
This is
box.
what I feel.
Mm,
Next.
okay. Yeah. If there's a one message you would like every podcast practitioner, coaches, counselor, therapists, or psychologists, or even parents to hear before joining this certification course, what would it be?
I think I said it and I'll say it again.
Okay.
You remember what we can contribute to the world is finding what helps people cope with most horrible experiences, because our world is not friendly, much to my regret. I believed one time when I was more naive that if I will write a few more books or articles, the whole world will change. It didn't. And we need really to brace our souls in order to keep living and even be happy in very uncomfortable situations. Uncomfortable is a very gentle word. So, this is what I wanted you, all my participants, to carry with you. We cannot change reality. We can only change the way that we respond to reality. And we have to train again and again and again not to fall backward on old and unhelpful methods and really train with the new methods. Call it basic pH, call it whatever you want, but it's a message of health which communicates us across all languages. We don't need language when we work with cars because they are visual, and our right mind doesn't care for language. That's my message.
Wow, that's very wonderful. Yeah, and I'm looking forward for your training, yeah, in this coming month. Yeah, and there's about 2 more weeks away.
At the end of the month.
Yeah,
Okay.
end of the month. Yeah, and that's wonderful. And maybe I want to emphasize on the when will be the certification. Yeah, it will be on the 27th to 28th. Yeah, it's a Saturday, Sunday, so it make it very flexible, or even the timing for the people who are not working on a Saturday, Sunday evening at 6 to 9 p.m. and just 3 hours per day, and just for the 6 hours of commitment. And what most amazing is the fee, the investment fee is low, not that high, and to learn from our doctor, yeah, the founder, the developer of these code cards, yeah, and to learn from the person who know very well on how you to use these cards and how to use this basic pH model in applying to how we cope with our stress, trauma, and as a practitioner, I believe that you will learn and you will benefit in this level one foundation course. With that, thank you very much, and
And
I
I want to
appreciate it.
say that we are joining forces. I will do part of it, and Vincent, you will do part of it. And will be really amazing. It will be an unbelievable experience.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. With that, thank you very much, and I will see you again. Yeah, Doctor. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, see you.
See you. Okay, I'm going to